Yo, what's up guys? Yeah, pokeaim here. Welcome to the next episode of Aim Higher, the series where I take your games, your replays, and we watch them, we commentate what could have been better, what was done well, and we get to show off some cool stuff sometimes. Like this first game, oof, I'm actually pretty excited. Now, if you guys want to submit some stuff, go to my website, pokeaimMD.com. You can submit your matches here, and again, it doesn't matter. It could be a Wi-Fi battle, it could be a YouTube replay, it could be a Pokemon Showdown replay. I do not care at all. If it's something cool, if something that you think is worth watching, something that is you would like some critique on, feel free to just send it. Honestly, like this is the point of this series. And if you guys do enjoy this type of thing, feel free to leave a like and comment about it too. You help me out. And last thing, what's today? Friday? When this goes up, we got some Pokemon news earlier. I have no idea what it is, but I definitely made a video about it. So if you guys want to check that out, feel free to. But okay, so I'm pretty excited about this game because we have this Politoed. I'm just gonna tell you guys, it has Mimic. It has Mimic. And that's so cool because there's so many cool things you can mimic here. You can mimic Stealth Rock. You can mimic Stealth Rock. You can mimic Stealth Rock. Or there's other stuff that I'm not going to show you, but I just realized they have like 3 potential Stealth Rockers. So a few things here. If this Kingdra is special, it's not, it's Dragon Dance. But if this Kingdra was special, it just won immediately. All I had to do was click Surf, 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 Surf. The back 5 are all 2 KO / O code, and Latias, if it's not Calm Mind, doesn't matter. Latias is actually a giant threat to this team, depending on it is. The physical variant is actually decent in this regard because if it's Calm Mind Latias, it's definitely a giant threat. I love the Articuno here, especially because if Heat Train gets worn down, which a lot of the members can do, Articuno could just Calm Mind up and kind of win with Hurricane plus Freezing Glare, because variations of Corviknight, depending on what it is, might not be able to touch it unless it has Brave Bird. It needs to literally have Brave Bird. If it's Body Press, it doesn't. And a little bit weak to Kartana, a little bit, yeah, I would say. So maybe it is Body Press. I don't think they're actually that weak to Cart because they have some decent resistances. Plus, same thing with Estrio, so I'm not even sure what type of Corviknight it is. Rillaboom is good at checking Swampert and weakening the Landorus for kind of just Regieleki, but this Regieleki is a Rain Dance variant, so we have some really interesting teams here going around. But I definitely would think going for a Kingdra sweep seems the easiest. Just getting it in and clicking Water Move seems really very safe. But yeah, let's go ahead and start this off. I definitely would leave Politoed here as well because there's nothing that OHKOs it, nothing that threatens it at all. So we're going to see Landorus lead versus Politoed. This is absolutely amazing for the Politoed. Obviously, it doesn't matter what you do. You can click Scald, you can click Ice Beam. Any attack is good this turn. Now TNT Werewolf actually decides to go for the Ice Beam, which I'm very surprised at Landorus. Hey, I think this thing is max special defense because at first I would have said, oh, Assault Vest, but no, it just set up Stealth Rock. But it's definitely max special defense. Now this is a pretty big turn 1 because if this is a Thunder Regieleki or whatever, it has like 5 moves anyway, so one of them is going to have Thunder in the name, either it's Thunderbolt or Thunder. This is really good to weaken because besides that, all you have is Swampert, and Swampert's kind of overwhelmed by a lot. So that weakening is really nice. It's also pretty good for Galarian Slowbro, which is something that is decent here. It's cool to see. Maybe it's a quick draw variant. Maybe it's a Regenerator. Considering the team's a little bit weak to Pex, I could see it being just a Regenerator variant that can kind of just take hits and throw off a few of their own. But we already see the Stealth Rock. Overall, I guess it's okay play. I mean, Landorus technically doesn't beat anything besides Regieleki, and you have Swampert for that too, but I feel like damage on Politoed would have been better turn 1 from the opponent, just because look how much of a threat Politoed is to everything. Like, only Latias can beat it, and it just revealed it has Ice Beam. So we do see a U-turn from the Landorus as it goes out into Corviknight, and the Corviknight, I mean, switches up into a Surf, so it comes in on a Surf. So again, this is like, I don't think that they should have U-turned as well. I think they should just click the Earthquake because again, at that point, it's an 8% Landorus. How useful is going to be? Yeah, you might need a sack versus Kingdra, which is fair. That's fair right there. But this Politoed is a problem, especially because it's running Surf and it did 47% to Corviknight, and Corviknight's basically forced to Roost. And if Corviknight's gone, opens up Articuno even more, opens up Galarian Bro, and again, this is a Dragon Dance Kingdra, so this is in Werewolf's best interest to just keep clicking Surf. Considering just how good, just how good Dragon Dance Kingdra is if this thing's gone and Landorus is weakened. So, and Swamperts are always like physically defensive or offensive. Like there's some mix between. They're not usually physically defensive, especially defensive, excuse me, or physically offensive. So, yeah, we're gonna see a few Surfs come out right now, and like I said, this Politoed is packing the Mimic, and I think this is so cool, which is why I really want to show this game, because Mimic is a really cool tech, right? First off, they're using Politoed over Pelipper, so that's, big props to them, right? Because Pelipper is just the better water setter in OU because it has U-turn, has reliable recovery in Roost, but I mean, look at Politoed having that recovery in Roost as well. But still, and the only thing that Politoed has over Pelipper is, honestly, that's pure water, so it's not like 4 times weak to electric. But that's really just it. Like Hurricanes and U-turns and Roost and Defog, all that stuff is just so much. It's just so much better. Sorry, I think my mic cut out for a second. But this is nice because, again, Politoed doesn't really have too many threats. Only Calm Mind Lottie has a threat. Now, if this is Calm Mind Weakness policy, it may just win. But damage is nice, even though it's only doing 47%, 46%. But that Roost is really cool too because it looks like this Corviknight doesn't really have a great attack to touch Politoed here. So we're gonna see a Surf come out on Swampert. Beautiful Surf as we see a Flip Turn do 31%. I'm not sure if that's bandit damage, but we do see the little Roost come out right now. And again, this is great. They are wasting rain turns, but like even then, it's not really even doing much. Had they had Scald here over Surf, obviously Surf is doing the damage, but had they had Scald over Surf, Corviknight could have been burnt as well, and that could have opened up Rillaboom too a little bit in this game. But just the fact that they can Surf into repeated Roost is really, really nice here. Now, we do see the Roost come out. We're going to see another Surf come out most likely. There's no reason not to. As the opponent actually ends up making the Heatran play, I'm assuming that their thought process is, okay, this mon's a threat. I'm going to try and Magma Storm it down and just deal with it from there, really. That's like the only thing I could see why they would go Heatran here, right? But this Heatran being weakened and this Corviknight basically revealing its set being Roost, U-turn, Body Press, and we can assume Defog, means that if this Articuno Calm Mind's up, it can win. So you have no reason not to click Surf here. There's nothing that Heatran can knock you out with. Even if they Magma Storm and Earth Power, it's not going to do enough for Politoed. You still have your Infinite Rain later. We do see an Ancient Power come out, so I think they were just trying to get the boost there. But Surf doesn't KO, so you might as well go for it as they go for an Earth Power here. And I think this was a mistake on Werewolf's part, considering, let's go to last turn, right? They would have been under 50%. After this, they're at about 50%, and they could have been at 100% at the end of the turn and only taken about 20 or 30% damages. We saw the Heatran end up going for the Earth Power, so I think this is a bit of a mistake considering you had the Roost, right? And you could have had more HP on Politoed. As you saw, my dude was using Heatran in order to beat a Politoed, which can make us infer that this Latias, or we can kind of use this information to figure out that this Latias might in fact be Choice Scarf, because if this dude is suffering this much to beat, I don't know, to beat this Pokemon, then that Latias might be Choice Scarf. And it's crazy because Latias isn't even that bad here, but the problem is if this Latias is Choice Scarf and it goes for Draco to KO Politoed, you literally combine up with Articuno and you win on the spot because Heatran is basically dead. Like, you just win on the spot. So I really feel like Roost was just stronger of an overall play. But I mean, getting rid of Heatran is always nice for Articuno as well. So we see Swampert come out. Again, on this scenario, you have a Regieleki, and his Regieleki is actually Air Balloon, so it's something we know. I feel like in this scenario, you didn't really have to stay in here. Again, keeping your Rain alive for Kingdra made a lot of sense. You even had a Rillaboom, so you had answers to this, and you had an Air Balloon Regieleki. Had I been you, I would have definitely went Regieleki here just to Rapid Spin on Pert, seeing as how it looks like it's Choice Band, or Choice in some sort of way, because it took a lot from Surf, and it did a lot with Flip Turn, especially in the rain. That's resisted, so I think it's Choice Band. And like worst case, they flip turned and broke your Air Balloon, but nothing on their team is faster except for potentially Choice Scarf Lottie. And yeah, you could Rapid Spin anyway, and it's not like that Mon, like, they had an 8% Landorus, so who cares? You just Rapid Spin on that, and then you get rid of Stealth Rock. You keep your Rain alive because your Kingdra reach, like, it just destroys the opponent's team. So I think that staying in turn 12 is a misplay, especially like if you know what you have after. So we see Rillaboom come out. We're going to see Rillaboom actually go for the Darkest Lariat, trying to hard read the Latias. And that's a tech that I haven't seen in a little bit, except on Bulk Up Rillaboom. Again, overall, I feel like the damage could have been calced. And because you were Air Balloon, again, I still feel like Regieleki would have came in, because this wouldn't have been able to come in. So we see the Darkest Lariat. Looks like they were trying to catch Latias upon switching, but because U-turn was also a great play, there was no way they weren't going Corviknight that turn. So even doubling out into Regieleki, I think turn 13 was relatively safe. And that's how I would have changed up at least this play right here. So we're going to see Regieleki come in, and as like I said, it's on a balloon. It's on a balloon. We see the U-turn come out as Pert's going to come in, which is smart. I mean, you don't want to go Landorus because they Rapid Spin anyway. Rocks are gone. But we are going to see a Rain Dance. Let's assume you had a Rapid Spin. We are going to see a Rain Dance come out. So this is a cool tech because it puts Kingdra back in the game, and it means that Latias is in a scared position. So technically you could go Kingdra right here depending on your set. The other option is going Articuno just because Articuno can Calm Mind up and he hits. But I definitely would have went Kingdra here just because, I mean, look at their resist to Kingdra. But bring Articuno, which is fair. Not running the heavy duty boots is really, really interesting. So I'm assuming it's the Grassy Seed variant. But we are going to see a Calm Mind come out. Now, I'm not sure if Draco Meteor into, let's see. Let's just assume you're the max HP variant. Let's just see regular. Let's see Latias. We saw a random. We see Latias right here. This is Draco from a Choice Scarf variant, so it does 58 to 69. So if you're max HP, it does 57, and then at if you're +1, you're +1, and they are -2. They can't kill you, right? But assuming you're not, let's see, you're not max HP, you're +1, they're -2. There's a decent chance they end up KOing you anyways, you see, because we did this much. So I definitely think roosting was better here, or recovering rather, on your Articuno. But if you're max HP, Calm Mind was completely fine. I think Calm Mind was completely fine if you're max HP because they wouldn't be able to knock you out after. So it makes a difference depending on the set. So let's just assume your max HP with Grassy Seed. That's why you went for Calm Mind, because they wouldn't have been able to knock you out after. Depending on rolls, like I said, because +1, -2, yeah, 20, about 20 from 58. It could have been close. Could have been close. Could have been close, depending. They would have to get the highest roll on here to do like 20 more. So legitimately the highest roll. So I think Calm Mind was fine if you're max HP. We do see a light screen come out from Latias, and this is really interesting because this Latias is looking to be just full on support, and that should be really like that should be really easy for you to just click Calm Mind again, in my opinion. There's nothing that Latias can do to you. You're not going to lose to Corviknight because it's Roost, U-turn. Landers can't touch you, and if Landers comes out, it gives you a competitive boost, and Salazzle's definitely not beating you. Worse, it Toxics you. So going for Calm Mind on turn 17 did a lot more for you than going for Hurricane here. I don't think you needed to go for Hurricane. Maybe you're trying to hard predict Swampert coming in, but it ends up being Healing Wish too. So I think Calm Minding up would have just been the better play all around. Because we do see Swampert come out at 100% now, and it's a little bit of a threat, obviously, but we get some nice damage off there. As Flip Turn, yeah, this is hella choice band, so yeah, I think you should have went Regieleki earlier. As Flip Turn does enough for Salazzle to be able to knock it out with Sludge Bomb, and again, so I feel like that's a position you didn't need to be in as well, and I also feel like you should have went hard Kingdra the turn before, especially if you're Scale Shot, because any damage on Latias would make your Articuno win too, because it wouldn't be able to Healing Wish, and then Articuno just straight up wins, just raw, right? Let's assume you're Freezing Glare or Stored Power, you just win, because it can't Earthquake, it has to Flip Turn. You have Rillaboom there, you can potentially get your Grassy Seed. That's what I'm assuming you are. So I definitely think that Kingdra should have came out earlier, just to even weaken Latias or just put it down. But we see Nasty Plot from Salazzle. Again, a misplay on the opponent's part, because if this is Spec Surf, you want to get damage. First off, Spec Surf definitely killing through right screen. That's no rain or anything. I don't care. I don't care. This is Salazzle, man. This is not Blissey. This is Salazzle. So even with a light screen up, there's no way. Yeah, it does 105 minimum, and most Kingdras are specs on rain. You happen to be Dragon Dance, which actually helps you in this situation because they went for Nasty Plot. But your Dragon Dancer, you're fast. You can knock them out with Liquidation. They don't really have a switching considering the Corviknight is at 83%, and Liquidation can obviously threaten it. So we see Corviknight come out. Light screen doesn't really matter here. Actually did 34%, so maybe they could have went out to Corviknight there. But because of the defense drop, you're able to not only tank that body press, but you can potentially Dragon Dance again, which is a good turn. I agree with Dragon Dance on turn 23. Even if they stay in and Roost, you're still +2 in front of a -1 defense Corviknight, so you're going to do a ton. That opens up your Rillaboom. And yeah, so like, I mean, it made sense why they want to keep Corviknight alive. They'll lose to Rillaboom's Grassy Glide if they don't. So they made sense for them to switch. That was the optimal play right there. They couldn't kill you if they stayed in and clicked Body Press because they're -1. And this is better for you because, again, you can just click Liquidation. You get the KO and Landers. That opens up your bro in the back as well, which is actually looking decent. So we do see Corviknight come out. We're going to see a Dragon Dance come out right here as they Roost. And this is, again, a good call on your part, in my opinion. They had to Roost because if you went for Liquidation and they Body Press and attack you, again, they win. or you win with Rillaboom. So that was a good call. You're acknowledging the fact that they were going for that play no matter what. And then you go for liquidation. Good play. Weakening them and getting another defense drop, which is pretty crazy. So right here, Slowbro is going to come out. And again, another pretty nice play, because if the Slowbro has fire move and you let Corviknight take the damage, Rillaboom once again wins. So the opponent's going to switch out the Swampert. And you make a very good call here and go for Grass Knot. So again, really nice play. Pretty draw free. Like, it didn't really matter. If they U-turn out, you're faster. I don't know why they didn't U-turn. But maybe they were fearing the quick draw, quick claw type of thing with a Surf or Scald or even Flamethrower, even though it's a rain team, which you do happen to pack. So you have some cool techs here. So good Grass Knot play. Good Grass Knot play, honestly. It gets rid of potentially a Bandit Swampert Ice punching into Rillaboom and then you losing because they stall you out with Corviknight's Roost on grassy terrain and then Choice Bandit Swampert come in. So I think you had to make that play, and I like it a lot. But yeah, Corviknight comes out. Corviknight cannot touch you at all. And I came prepared. See, that's why I like this game, because like you saw some cool attacks like Flamethrower and Rain. That leads back to my OST game versus BKC years ago. And you also see like the Mimic Politoed, which I think was really cool. So it wasn't like the highest ladder game, but it was still really cool to see. And I want to show off because I really think the Mimic Politoed was really cool. But again, a few misplays I think on both sides. I feel like if you combine it up, you're fine. It just made sense to, in my opinion. You could have also, instead of attacking the pert, you could have roosted on it or recovered on it, because Ice Punch would have killed you from full. And at least if they stayed in, they're wasting light screen turns. And I keep saying roost, but it's recover. They don't have roost on these birds just yet. And then you would have been able to just throw off Hurricanes. Again, I think Regieleki coming out on that, keeping Politoed alive. So Kingdra could have been way deadlier, because you would have been Dragonets in the rain, which is a nice old DP set. So a few things I might have changed on the team as well is maybe make this Regieleki heavy-duty boots. I know Air Balloon is just so you can come in on Earthquake, which is cool, but you have Rillaboom to weaken them. Politoed eats a hit. Articuno. So yeah, from there, that's just what I would have made differently. But it was a very enjoyable game, and I'm happy that you submitted it because I got to see something really cool. I'll pause it, guys, into the next one. You guys will see it in a sec, but one sec. All right, so we are back with game 2. But real quick, if you guys didn't know, Code AIM is 30% off for G Fuel. G Fuel is a caffeinated energy drink, so obviously be aware of what you're drinking. It's not for kids, so if you're 18 plus, this is something you can get. If you don't want to try something that's caffeinated but actually are up to support me and try out G Fuel, because we're on our way to our own flavor, you can check out the hydration line, which is my personal favorite. I love the strawberry lemonade. Again, that's my I really love the strawberry lemonade. It has 0 calories, 0 sugar, and 0 caffeine. Again, Code AIM is 30% off this weekend. So yeah, so the next part we have is this battle between these nuts and X Hidden. So this is the type of game that makes you really question why you play Pokemon. That's just it. Like, we actually look at the team itself. This thing right here, Galarian Slowbro with the Quick Draw and Quick Claw, which is a 43% chance to move first. And then we have some like really good, like we have offensive Celesteela, defensive Landorus, SD Garchomp with Fire Fang over Stone Edge. Actually, I'm a bigger fan of Stone Edge, especially on Lum, so you don't have to worry about like confusion from Zapdos' Hurricane and things like that. But Fire Fang's cool too for like giving you that more accurate move versus Corviknight, as well as that kill versus Ferrothorn. But this is a little bit older of a replay, not too long ago though. It's February 18th. So this game, like I said, is one of those games that really makes you question, wow, this game is fair. But obviously the opponent has a Cinderace, which is a very big threat. But they do have Mana Buzz, so I could check that decently well. The Zapdos is probably one of the biggest threats because, yes, they do have 2 resist to close combat, or 3. Well, Landorus doesn't count as a resist because Bandit Zapdos Defiant Close Combat will annihilate it. It's 2-hit KO'd easily. But Zapdos is obviously a giant threat because the pressure from Brave Bird or Close Combat, specifically because the defensive Pokemon gives it that boost with Defiant, and the Celesteela is offensive. It's crazy. It's crazy. Magearna has some decent checks. They're all 3 standing next to each other right here, and even Galarian Slowbro can do it to an extent. Galarian Slowbro is wild because if it sets up a nasty plot in front of Pex, which is probably the easiest thing for it to do, or even Magearna depending on the set, like after a Flare Cannon or something, the Quick Draw, Quick Claw can be extremely devastating here. Now, I think that this episode is actually going to be a little bit shorter than the recent ones. We're not sure though. We isn't me. I don't know why I said we. I swear I don't hear voices. But the I'm sorry. The Galarian Slowbro can really just make quick work of this team, depending on if the quick draw activates, because Psychic +2, Psychic, Flamethrower, Psychic, like it's just annihilating everything. Combine Feeny is also a giant threat in my opinion, especially if the Cinderace doesn't have Gunk Shot. They should always have Gunk Shot, in my opinion. But if it doesn't, then it can honestly win if it's Taunt Combine, which we already know it is right here, because that can be Toxapex 1v1. It is calm natured though, not fully physically defensive, so that might stop it from actually checking Weavile, which is I think the biggest threat that the opponent has, especially if it's SD. Like SD knockoff, triple axle, ice shard is just super good here. The ability to just get rid of items I think is really cool too, because if you get rid of, let's say, Feeney's item, then it doesn't have that recovery besides Draining Kiss, and that's really going to help something like Weavile later just win. So again, if I was the opponent, I'd hella lead off with Zapdos, and if I'm this guy, you got to lead off with something that doesn't give Zapdos the you gotta give Zapdos that doesn't give, you gotta lead off with something that doesn't give Zapdos like the best way of just killing a Pokemon immediately. So that's a really good lead in my opinion, Celesteela. It's very solid. It beats everything besides Cinderace, and if they let off with Zapdos, you can immediately trade. So Celesteela was a fantastic lead. Good start from the opponent right here. So Celesteela versus Landorus. Landorus could go for the Stealth Rock or U-turn. It makes sense to go for U-turn here, especially because you don't know if this is offensive Celesteela yet. And just going out to Pex is always the safest play, because if you let Landorus get weakened, then look how good Garchomp is. Granted, they do have Weavile, but still. So, yeah, we do see a U-turn immediately. Good. Right out into Magearna, actually, which is really interesting, as the Celesteela goes right for the Autotomines. Now, they're going right for the sweep early. I guess their thought process is trying to break or get a position where Toxapex is in, because Toxapex is always coming out Celesteela to let Slowbro do its thing. So, Magearna ends up coming out. We do see a Flamethrower. Luckily, this is not weakness policy right here, as we see a Volt Switch, and that looks Specs. But they make a really big misplay, the opponent. They go out into Cinderace. Now, Cinderace makes sense if you have Sucker Punch, because you can just click it and get rid of Celesteela. But there's no reason to not go out into Toxapex. Even if Scald isn't an OHKO and it's a 2-hit KO, you can at least avoid a Meteor Beam, because all the Tautomai Celesteelas in this generation are Meteor Beam. So definitely a misplay on the opponent's part, unless they go for Sucker Punch here, which they don't end up going for, and Cinderace goes down. And this is huge, because Cinderace is one of the, besides Zapdos, Cinderace is so good here. Pyro Ball and things like that. You have Landorus to always come in on the opposing Landorus, and your Weavile threatens everything. And if Weavile knocks off Tapu Fini's item, Cindeраce's Gunshot is like a guaranteed KO. So that was a huge misplay on the opponent's part, which this guy was able to just take full advantage of. He's not did it. He did it. So they get rid of Cinderace, which is important, because they also get the boost. And I guess at this point they didn't want to go out to Weavile because they're not choice banned, and they get the Beast Boost as well. And look how much Toxapex takes from this Air Slash. So provided that Toxapex does not knock out Celesteela, they could potentially sweep here. But we do see a Skull come out, and it does end up burning. Now, again, this was Celesteela doing 61% at +2, which means that Toxapex should have came out after the Volt Switch and just clicked Skull, because it wouldn't have been 2-hit KO. Granted, they could have potentially flinched, but even then, you would live 3 after potentially Black Sludge, which would mean that Celesteela wouldn't be able to do this, and you still have your Cinderace alive. And Cinderace, again, is very strong in this game offensively. So definitely misplays, and it seems that they didn't have Black Sludge, but we do see Slowbro come in. This is what I'm talking about. That's the opportunity you 100% wanted. They say damn in the chat, but it doesn't really matter. It's honestly better for them, the fact that that went down in front of Pex, because again, your Slowbro gets this opportunity to do things. And the thing about Magearna is that I don't think Flash Cannon is a KO on Bro, even if it's max HP. I think, because that's, like I said, that's definitely Specs. You're not doing almost 80% to this Mon and knocking it out. So Magearna, if it's choice Specs, Flash Cannon can only do 88% max. And because Slowbro has natural resistances anyway, and honestly, in front of Pex is like the only one you want to come in, like everything else can beat you 1v1. It makes sense to want to go for either Psychic or Nasty Plot there. Now, Psychic immediately, I think it was better just to go for either Flamethrower or Nasty Plot. If you're going to make 2 plays, I don't think Psychic did much, because Pex is always going to switch out there. Pex is too good. It's the way of potentially knocking Feeny, or even if it's Poison Jab, because I've seen Poison Jab Scald as well. I've seen knock Poison Jab too. But Pex is just too good at pivoting, and it also pivots in on Mana Buzz and punishes it with Rocky Helmet damage, which is always good for Zapdos as well. So I think Psychic here was a little bit like not the play. It wasn't risky. It didn't have any risk involved, but letting in Weavile for free and letting in just not doing any damage to anything else. I didn't like that. But maybe if they assume that they go Landorus there. But at the same time, Landorus should never come out because you need that for Garchomp. Garchomp is way too much of a threat. And the other Landorus is a threat too. So we see Quick Draw activate as Flamethrower is going to come out. Now this is fine simply because if Magearna goes for Flash Cannon, you'll live it and you'll be able to knock it out anyway. And this thing being gone limits the like Mana Buzz pivots. Like U-turn will actually hurt Weavile for super effective damage, and you turning out and Zapdos coming in would mean Finny can come out. They take the Brave Bird and then Draining Kiss after. So it's better like to go for Flamethrower here. You didn't lose anything from that. And again, this Pokemon is not coming in on Landorus, not coming in on Weavile, not coming in on Zapdos. So the only two Pokemon were these two. So that's fine. And we see the Quick Draw activate, 43%. So Weavile comes out here, and if Weavile goes for knockoff, it's going to be able to pick up a KO. But we do see the Quick Draw, Quick Claw activate as well as Toxapex comes out. That's a good double too because it deals with Tapu Fini, which most likely should have came in here because Slowbro can come in always on Toxapex as well and absorb T-Spike too. But they ended up staying in and going for Flamethrower. So I think my boy was just testing his luck. Like I said, I would have definitely went out to Tapu Fini there. It's free. And the opponent tried to take advantage of that. However, besides going Pex just to get regenerated, maybe Zapdos should have came out there on the double either way because it would have been able to weaken Tapu Fini so that way Weavile can win. But I guess they didn't want to give it potentially a chance to SD up and weaken Tapu Fini because Tapu Fini is really good in this game and Zapdos is a giant threat. So either way, it works out for them because right here they decide to stay in because they're worried about this thing going for like another Flamethrower maybe on Weavile as they go for Nasty Plant. Again, this is the opportunity you want. Not sure why. Okay, then that makes sense. I guess they didn't want them going for the Psychic or Flamethrower as they switch out to Weavile. So this was actually ended up being a good play for Toxapex going for Recover there, trying to avoid a Flamethrower. So that worked out. Obviously, he goes right for the Flamethrower, which is no drawback really because Pex can't do much besides Haze, and you still threaten it with Psychic. And you have two Earthquakers in the back that can deal with it. So I think Flamethrower there was a fine play. And yeah, overall, I think they also made the right play there. So let's see if they go Weavile now. They do end up going Weavile now on the Psychic, so they get the right turn. However, this man is committed. And again, 43% chance to KO the big threat to Slowbro. So there you go. Quick Draw activates. Weavile goes down. Landorus comes out. At this point, honestly, you just go for it. As you can see, I think something fell. You okay, Puka? You all right? You okay? Okay, she's good. She's good. My bad. My puppy is... I'll probably pause it after just to double check. But at this point, you basically just go for Psychic here. Because if you get rid of Landorus, man, your own Landorus or your own Garchomp are just extremely, extremely threatening. So we do see the Quick Draw, Quick Claw activate. Landorus goes down. As Zapdos comes out again, at this point, who cares, right? Just go for it, shoot. Damage on Zapdos or let them Brave Bird you so that way you can go Fini after and Earthquake too. Another Quick Draw, another Quick Claw. Toxapex comes out, another one. So that, my friends, is basically an example of just how unforgiving, man, Pokemon can be, how cruel Pokemon can be too. That was wild. Like, Slowbro just came in. Like, on the Weavile, I definitely would have went out into Tapu Fini there, and clearly they didn't predict them to double out to Pex. If you did, you would have went for Psychic or Nasty Plot, right? They went for Flamethrower as Pex came in. And the opponent tried to make the correct play on there as well. But I think also Weavile should have always gone for knockoff. It's no drawback. If Tapu Fini loses its item, it makes it easier for your other Pokemon to beat it. Also, they made misplays earlier. They played better with their Pex towards the end, but they made misplays earlier with Cinderace because look how good Cinderace's Pyro Ball and High Jump Kick and Gunk Shot could have been, actually giving you a way of winning with potentially Zapdos or Weavile. But I want to show this off because like, damn, man, look how many times Quick Draw activated. But yeah, we're gonna pause it until we find what the hell. This is not a Showdown live like that. This is me watching replays. I'm gonna pause it real quick so I can check out my puppy. I'll be right back. Alright guys, so we have our next game from Aim Higher. And again, you guys can submit it on my website, pokeaimMD.com. This is from the Pokemaster Mike, actually a friend of mine. And this is a Gen 7 OU game. So, a few things, just looking at it. This is Mega Lopunny and this is Mega Tyranitar. Just a few things to know. So this is Megas. Lele is a giant threat, regardless of them having Feral Throw plus Tyranitar. The reason being is that the Tyranitar is a very shaky switch into Lele because Focus Blast and Moonblast can come out. And Moonblast is very good. And the Ferrothorn is really overwhelmed by Garchomp, Mega Lopunny. Celesteela always has Flamethrower. Rotom can burn it. Even Kyurem's Ice Beam can do a lot. So that's something to keep in mind. Like, I think Lele is going to be really good at overwhelming the opponent. The opposite side, though, has a very key threat that's really easy to see, and it's the Keldeo. Keldeo just clicks Secret Sword versus 5 out of 6. And if it ever surfs or scalds, or if the Lele gets Pursuit Trapped, because remember, this is Gen 7 OU. Lele can get Pursuit Trapped. If it clicks Psychic, that means that Keldeo just clicks Secret Sword after, especially if it's like Scarf Keldeo or something. It's just a giant threat. Regardless, like Specs Keldeo is a giant threat, Scarf Keldeo is a giant threat. Lopunny is checked by Landorus, Clefable, Zapdos to an extent. Even Protect on Ferrothorn can help versus High Jump Kick. And Rotom's going to be a pretty decent pivot in this game. I think the entire game, pivoting in on Landorus, pivoting in on the Keldeo's water moves as well. Though I think for the most part, it will be going for a Secret Sword this entire game. So you definitely want to play your Lele well, and the opponent wants to play their Keldeo well. That's how you're going to go out to this. Calm Mind Clefable can definitely sweep, but you really have to weaken Celesteela. Which luckily, on heavy slams, you can bring out Zapdos, which can static it, and obviously paralyzing Celesteela is one step closer to actually beating it as well. But yeah, let's see how this goes. I definitely go off with something that can deal with Keldeo, but also doesn't give too much momentum versus like the Ferrothorn or Landorus. So Kyurem is a decent lead because it forces Secret Sword. The other lead that's okay is Rotom because it gets you a Volt Switch immediately. In fact, I think Rotom's maybe one of the best leads possible because while it lets Ferrothorn set up Hazard Free or even Leech Seed, it doesn't put you in a losing position immediately versus Keldeo. So we do see Kyurem Black, which I thought was a decent lead as Keldeo comes out. And obviously Kyurem Black has to switch out. These Kyurem's Ice Beams are really strong here. So you're going to want to switch out into either, if you're physically defensive, Celesteela because of the Secret Sword. You want to go Celesteela. If not, otherwise you go Lele because there's no way they risk clicking Scald. They're always going to be clicking Secret Sword. So this is it's an almost risky play because this is one of your best Pokemon, but there's no way they don't click anything besides Secret Sword because that Pokemon is a threat. The other play they could have made was go Ferrothorn, but even then, you don't want to go Ferrothorn on like a Fusion Bolt into a Z move potentially. So because again, this is Gen 7, so Z moves and Megas. So Lele is out. Now, I mentioned earlier that if this Lele gets Pursuit Trapped, Keldeo can win very easily because Sand and Stealth Rock is going to chip away everything, and Secret Sword is extremely good. So Lele has 2 moves it can go for here, and one of them is never Psychic. So you never ever click Psychic here, ever. There is absolutely no reason. If you have Hidden Power Fire, you still don't click Hidden Power Fire, even if you know that they're going to go Ferrothorn. You click either Moonblast because it hits Tyranitar, or you click Focus Blast because it hits both. Now, Focus Blast potentially gets you nothing out of the turn if it misses, but it's less risky because if Keldeo stays in, it's only going to do 16% more. It's not going to be too bad, and your Focus Blast is going to do a good chunk anyway. And obviously, wearing down any hit on Keldeo is good for Lopunny to be able to knock it out as well. Like, and a little bit of chip. It also lets Volt Switch knock it out from 0 investment Rotom if there's a little bit of chip on it too. So you always go for either Focus Blast or Moonblast. Focus Blast is good because it will smack Tyranitar while also dealing good, super effective damage to Ferrothorn. And Moonblast is good too because, again, accurate. So because it's turn 1 and because turn 2 and they already clicked Secret Sword, and they had no fear of like random Scarf Kyurem or anything like that too, you just go right for Secret Sword here. That's it. I mean, excuse me, you go right for Focus Blast, like I said, or Moonblast. So they're going to be forced to switch. So we see Ferrothorn come out, and we do see Mike make the really good play of going for Focus Blast as Ferrothorn comes in. Now, right now, you do not risk Lele, all right? And Mike ends up staying in, and this was not the good play, in my opinion, because if Ferrothorn dodges and goes for Gyro Ball, Lele's gone. And again, these Secret Swords are super free because it's just not worth the risk. In my opinion, you always go Celesteela here because it has Flamethrower, it threatens it, it can threaten something else with Leech Seed. It's a position where, like, even if they go out to Zapdos, who cares? Because you can get in Garchomp, and you can get up your own Stealth Rock on Garchomp. On Zapdos decently safely because HPS won't KO you, and they probably go for Discharge first. This is assuming that, you know, Ferrothorn switches out as you click Flamethrower. If it stays in, then you get rid of Ferrothorn, and then Moonblast is absolutely free, right? So I understand the idea behind clicking Focus Blast because it's tempting that if you click it and if you land on Ferrothorn, then it dies, you know, depending on rolls. Who knows if it does like 48 or some crappy thing like that. Plus Ferrothorn can have Protect too, so you're really just losing turns. But if you lose Lele, you got to look at the bigger picture. You're really in a bad position versus Keldeo. So Mike does stand and go for Focus Blast as Ferrothorn does reveal Protect. So now Ferrothorn basically gets 2 free Protects there, and there's no way Mike's going to risk that at 57%. So go Celesteela. Again, I think that Celesteela play should have been a little bit earlier. Luckily for Mike, though, the opponent didn't end up going for the Leech Seed that turn, or even basically Leech Seed, because I think that Lele switching out was very obvious, but they went Clefable, which is a good mid-ground as well. Lets them Moonblast and Flamethrower safely. So, again, overall, that was a decent mid-ground. But they go back out into Ferrothorn, scouting for Heavy Slam, getting a little bit of chip. Doesn't really matter, though. I think they just let their Ferrothorn get weakened in place of Lele. What they probably should have went into was hard Zapdos that turn. But they bring out Tyranitar on the Flamethrower as well. Now, Tyranitar could have Banded Crunch and Banded... it doesn't have to be Mega. It could be Banded, right? And Banded Crunches and Banded Stone Edges are really going to hurt. Specifically Banded Stone Edge right now, which is something you could easily go for because that's going to destroy and disrupt everything. So if you have Banded Crunch, I'd go for it too. So Mike has an option here. You can either Protect, but if it Mega Evolves and get up Stealth Rock, you get them for free. I'm actually really surprised Tyranitar came in that turn, honestly, because I think that Zapdos made a little bit more sense. You were going to be able to threaten the Pokemon in front of you, and also threaten something else with potentially HP Ice or Discharges. But Mike ends up making the Garchomp play, which is a good play all around as they Mega Evolve and go for Fire Punch. Again, the thought process was Mega Tyranitar doesn't take too much from Heavy Slam anyway, and if they Leech Seed, honestly, they would have gotten most of their recovery back. But you want to weaken that Pokemon because it allows it really allows for Keldeo to do its thing, like I mentioned before. So we see Garchomp coming on Fire Punch. Ended up being a good play because Crunch was also likely, but Garchomp could take a Banded Crunch, and obviously Garchomp resists Banded Stone Edge as well, so just in case it wasn't. But we see Fire Punch from Tyranitar, and that's interesting because some Tyranitar, well, from what I remember, Stealth Rock, Pursuit, Crunch, and Earthquake was something we ran. Also Stone Edge, sometimes too. But whenever I saw Fire Punch, I usually assumed that, because it was either Fire Punch or Earthquake they ran, right? I usually assumed potentially Dragon Dance. Like, Dragon Dance comes right to mind. So this could potentially be an Ice Punch Tyranitar. But either way, if I'm Mike, I always go for Earthquake here because if they stay in, you get a lot of damage. You actually don't KO like Zero Bulk Tyranitar, I believe, unless you're Life Orb or Choice Band or Soft Sand. I believe it guarantee lives here. I think there's like 78% minimum. But let's say they do have Ice Punch, or let's say they do have Ice Beam or whatever. Doesn't matter because if they're at 2% after, because you go for the Earthquake and they touch you with Ice Punch or whatever they go for, they'll die to Rough Skin, which means that your Psychics are free. No longer do they have a Dark type that can resist Psychic, and Ferrothorn is at 48%. Keep in mind, again, this is Gen 7, which means that the Psychic Terrain is 1.5 times base power to your moves, not the 1.3 times we see now, which is still insanely strong, by the way. Like, Corviknight's still taking an insane amount. So I definitely would have Earthquaked here over Stealth Rock because you can Stealth Rock in front of Landorus anyway. You have really good Landers switch-ins, and they're more likely to go for U-turn. And if you want, if Zapdos has no HP Ice, it's fine. And you just get so much more out of the turn. So we do see Mike go for Stealth Rock, obviously expecting them to fear the Earthquake. But the opponent makes a very aggressive, but pretty high risk, high reward play, I would say. Again, I say it's high risk because if they go for Earthquake and Tyranitar drops to that plus Rough Skin, then the Psychics are amazing. But they end up going for the Ice Punch here. And I think the thought process was, if this is Dragonite Tyranitar, Lopunny is going to crush it anyway, so there's no real point. Might as well get rid of Garchomp, which is honestly annoying. Like, Garchomp is annoying, especially if it's SD. So I definitely would have went for Earthquake, like I said, if I was Mike there. And yeah, we do see Ice Punch come out and it goes down, so for the rocks. But Lopunny can come out now. Lopunny is really scary too, because if it's static Zapdos, then you can get paralyzed. But we see Landers come out on the Power Up Punch. Power Punch, relatively safe. There's no way Tyranitar stays in it. If it did, like it did last time, you don't want to. It's good to get the +1 anyway, but you also don't want to risk Tyranitar doing what it just did. So I understand Power Punch, Overhide Jump Kick as well, as Landers comes out. Landers is basically only here for this Pokemon, also to get up rocks too. So an Earthquake can come out, or U-turn. U-turn is a good play too. We do see the double out into Clefable here, scouting for Ice Punch, most likely. Which leads to believe that, especially because Lopunny switched out first, we know that their Landorus is indeed not Choice Scarf. So Mike is confirmed that this is not Choice Scarf on the Landorus. But the Landorus is also not running an item. Like, we don't see, we didn't see Leftovers, we didn't see Rocky Helmet. So we have no idea what type of Landorus that is. It could be Yachi Berry, I guess. But Yachi Berry would be like for Dragonite, Tyranitar, but they do have Keldeo, so I have no idea what type of Landorus that is. But we know it's not Choice Scarf because Lopunny switched out first. But Celesteela came in right there, which is safe. Safe on Earthquake, doesn't care about U-turn. It ended up being a good position for Mike anyway. So obviously Clef can't stay in. Clef actually opts to stay in on a potential Leech Seed. And Mike, this is the play Mike wants to make. You don't have to predict Zapdos coming in because you get a free Kyurem now and you can click Ice Beam. And this is, again, if Tyranitar is dead too, your Ice Beams and Fusion Bolts are way more free as well. So like that's why like Earthquake and the Tyranitar. But they click for Heavy Slam here. Clefable could stay in if it wants to. We actually see Mike switch it up and go for Flamethrower just in case they bring out Ferrothorn that turn on the Heavy Slam again, as they get the burn on Zapdos. Nice burn as well. Again, static Zapdos is a problem. We didn't see pressure come up, so we know it's static, and that's pretty annoying for Lopunny. That's why, like I say, the Power Punch early was kind of wow, like the fact they went for it. But I guess because Stealth Rock were up, they didn't want to risk it coming in on High Jump Kick into Frustration, which I think Zapdos might have been able to take anyway because it's leftovers, but I could be wrong. I could have been wrong there. But either way, actually, because Sam was up, right? Sam was up for... Yeah, Sam was still up that turn, so I don't know if it actually took it. But anyway, we see Zapdos come out. This is basically Kyurem because Zapdos goes for Roost. Kyurem comes in and clicks Ice Beam. If Zapdos goes for Defog, Kyurem is still very threatening either way. So Kyurem is going to come out. Exactly. Good play. As we do see the Discharge come out too. Decent play as well, just because if you paralyze Kyurem, then Clefable again and things like... Well, maybe Tyranitar has a lot more for it, but we see Ferrothorn come out Ice Beam and get frozen. It doesn't matter because Ferrothorn would be 2-hit KO'd, and the fact that Ferrothorn came in like really just gives me more like what I was saying. Like, had you knocked that Tyranitar, Psychic got kill after kill. But the good thing with Ferrothorn being gone is that Moonblast is still very strong and unresisted now. However, again, the damage difference between Psychic and Terrain and Moonblast is very, very clear. Like, you'll 2-hit KO Clefable always with Psychic, whereas Moonblast will not. So there's something to keep in mind, but we do see the Ice Beam KO. This is definitely going to be Keldeo coming in now. Now, at this point, you do not bring out your Lele. Your Lele is your biggest threat. They just gave you the Steel type, right? So you never bring out Lele here. You always go out into a Rotom. You want to keep Kyurem alive because it's your guarantee switching to Zapdos to get a kill with Ice Beam or Fusion Bolt, respectively. So you always want to go Rotom here, assuming that your Rotom can take 2 hits from Keldeo. And if they go for Secret Sword and Rotom ends up being 2-hit KO'd anyway, you get in Lele right after. You can click Moonblast and pick up your KO because Clefable's at 46%. So the opponent wants to find an opportunity to heal up with Clefable, which is probably in front of Lopunny or maybe even Rotom, depending on the situation. But we are going to see Rotom come out as the Keldeo goes for Secret Sword, which does not 2-hit KO at all. Like, at all. But we see Landers come out on the Voltage right there at turn, and they end up going for Stealth Rock, which I guess is fair because, again, if they're going for the sweep with Keldeo, then you want as much chip damage, and you want to limit the Lele switching as much as possible, because Secret Sword can deal everything besides Celesteela. Now, we didn't see an item on Rotom either, and we saw the damage that Secret Sword did, so we can assume this is probably like an Eye Pop berry or one of those Figgy berries or whatever berry that the Super Citrus berries that Rotom used to run back in the day. So Landers was a little bit crazy because it does give they wanted to get that opening for Clefable. That's basically what they want, right? They want to get that ability to see able to recover with Clefable. So it makes sense. They just want to go for rocks, but they're really limiting their Lopunny switches now too, especially with Stealth Rock up and Zapdos at 55%. But this is the opportunity you wanted. You want to be able to get in Clefable and heal. You can get in Celesteela safely. I honestly would not have went out into the I would not have went out into Lele here. I think that Celesteela was just safer. If they heal, who cares, right? If Zapdos comes in, you get in your cure one more time. So I think this is a little bit impatient on Mike's part. Going out into Celesteela meant that if they healed, you just click Heavy Slam twice, and you could potentially KO them, and then you just basically guarantee win with Lele later with Moonblast. But right here, you're risking like a drop from Moonblast as well, and then again opening up that Keldeo for later. But of course, I'm not sure if it's doing 37% to Rotom. I don't think it's Specs. I think it's Scarf. So again, it's a giant threat. And Celesteela didn't take too much from Flamethrower anyway, so you're just opening up Lele for later too. So I definitely wouldn't have went this turn right now. I would have went the Celesteela route, forced in Zapdos, went out to Kyurem, and clicked Ice Beam again. Because Life Orb Ice Beam is very, very strong. So we see Zapdos come out now on the Moonblast. They opt to not go Tyranitar, which is completely fair. Scouting for Psychic. But as you can see, Clef came right back in. So, and you saw it took only 45%. That's what I'm saying. So like it's an opportunity where it didn't really do much for the opponent. But Mike makes a really good play here. He knows they're going to go for Soft Blood, and like I said, this is, did I say at the beginning? But this is Encore Power Up Punch. And the fact that Zapdos goes down that turn means that it's very free to just click that, exactly that. So we are going to see a Power Up Punch come out from Mike, which means that he can just click Frustration, as obviously Clef is Encore into that Soft Boil. So that was really nice, and they obviously see the Frustration right there. And because Encore has ended, Mike can go for another Encore if he wants to. Now, the opponent makes the good play in going hard Keldeo. It was not worth... I don't think it was worth Mike predicting there, but to be honest, it also didn't matter if he did too, because let's say the you're not weak at all to Tyranitar, right? You have Kyurem, which can knock it out, or at least get a lot of damage off on it. You have Lele, which basically knocks it out with Moonblast now. So, or I think it's really close. If not, does KO with Moonblast now. So you honestly could have clicked Frustration there, because if they attacked into you, you would be able to pick up the KO with Lele or Celesteela after. But I understand wanting to go for the safe ground. At this point, he doesn't have to predict, because that was just the safest play you want to make at that turn. So it was fine. The opponent made the play they had to, and Mike made a fine play. Like, it's not like a risk worth taking. So we see Keldeo come out, and we do see Keldeo actually pop the Eye of Papa Berry, which is beautiful. I love the way that Mike saved this, because now he can go for Volt Switch and bring out either Rotom. Excuse me. You can bring out Lele again, or you can bring out the Lopunny, and Lele makes more sense because it basically forces the focus blast, excuse me, the Moonblast. However, again, you're letting yourself take Stealth Rock and Sand, so you're cutting a little bit close versus Keldeo. But at this time, like, Keldeo has to be very, very, very lucky to beat you, because not only does it have to crit multiple Secret Swords, but it has to dodge Leech Seeds for Celesteela too. And once you hit one Leech Seed, it's a wrap. It's one Leech Seed plus Protect. So Lele getting worn down, still always very scary for this Pokemon, especially because the water moves are actually even more scary now too. Like, everything will be 2 KO by water moves now. But we do see the Moonblast come out. Tyranitar goes down. Clefable comes out here. We do see hard Celesteela. If I'm the opponent, I think I actually went instead of for the Calm Mind there, because Celesteela may be faster than the Clefable. I don't remember if we saw it. Oh, we did see this. What am I saying? I think I would have went for just the Flamethrower, potentially burning, 2 chances to burn, because if you burn Celesteela, you can actually win with Calm Mind, Clef, and the opponent has to play very well with Lopunny there. But we do see a Heavy Slam come out as well. And again, all this damage on Keldeo is going to go a long way. Now, you lose nothing by going for Protect here. I think that Mike lost absolutely nothing by going for Protect there. For sure, should have just went for it. And basically just to keep yourself out of range of Clef to be able to go for an attack later. And then you would sack Kyurem. Or Rotom, depending. But if you sack Kyurem, then you can Volt Switch out with Rotom. And they still can't beat you with Water move. So, and it already dies to Volt Switch at that point too. So I think that clicking Protect there just to get leftovers, and then sacking potentially Kyurem to bring out Lele to click Psychic, and then to force him into a Water move, which can't knock out Lopunny from Scarf Keldeo, would have been better, and while still keeping Celesteela in the back. So I understand why Mike went for that play, but yeah, I'm surprised. Like, I don't know why he's not clicking Protect. I don't. But Lele comes out and just clicks Psychic. And at this point, the opponent hopes for a crit. They get it, but it's not enough to knock out Lele. And then we're going to see the Clefable go down to Psychic. So I think Mike played well, and we see another Psychic as well, crit come right back. I think Mike played well, but I think there were a few turns, like towards the end, like I think Mike thought he 100% had the game, which he more than likely did, right? There were not very few scenarios where Keldeo would win, but like multiple crits on Hydro Pump or anything like that could have been deadly. Maybe Kyurem lives it at the point it's at. But I think just protecting was a little bit safer. And then a few opportunities where, like Earthquake earlier would have been amazing for this game. This game would have been won way quicker as well, and I think safer as well too. But yeah, guys, so I'm going to make this episode relatively short just because everybody's hyped about the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remix, and I actually have a lot of stuff to do as well, like in real life. Yesterday I posted on my community that, you know, I had a family emergency thing. It was better. It was fine after. Now everything's good. But I just want to make sure and take care of things as well. So I appreciate you guys all coming through and watching. I know it was only 3 battles this time. Usually like 4 to 6 battles. But we're going to be doing them on stream this weekend. I think Sunday is when I'll be doing it. Maybe Saturday as well. Or Saturday or Sunday is one of them. So feel free to follow me on twitch.tv/pokeaim. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Aim Higher. I think it was really, really, really cool to see the annoyance of like quick draw, quick claw bro, but also the Mimic Politoed I thought was so sick. I really like that. Again, like I don't really care if it's high level games or just games where you get to show off really cool stuff like that. I think it's so exciting to be able to see that. But yeah, once again, guys, hope you guys all enjoyed. Like I said, you can use code AIM for 30% off. Again, 18 plus, you know, all that stuff. You are supporting me, and if you need a restock, feel free to. But you know, we're on our way to our own flavor. We're really far away. And if you haven't checked out my video earlier on my thoughts and my friend's thoughts on the Diamond and Pearl remix, as well as the Pokemon Legends Arceus, the open world, the first ever Pokemon game that is open world, check it out. I'll see you next time. Peace.